When you type the words Rett syndrome into Google, you'll come up with more than 5 million search results. This video is about Rett syndrome and my daughter Jovie. Now every year around October we do an awareness video, and I wanted to do something different. I'm going to answer some questions about Rett syndrome and introduce you to Jovie, who is now 9 years old. First question, what is Rett syndrome? Well, Rett syndrome is a rare genetic disorder. Rett syndrome is primarily caused by a Rett syndrome is primarily Rett syndrome is caused by a random mutation in the MECP2 gene on the X chromosome. I know that's a lot to kind of digest, so I'm going to break it down first into some really simple terms, and it's not scientific at all. Imagine making a cake. You've got your flour, your sugar, your eggs, your milk, and whatever else you want to put into your cake. You've mixed all the ingredients up in a bowl, you've poured it into the pan, and you've put it into the preheated oven. At any point, the oven turns off. Something's wrong with the mechanics, and your cake, while it wants to be a cake, it can't progress further than that. Kind of what Rett syndrome is about. I know it's so basic, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you know it's genetics and it's complicated. The technical wording for what happens when Rett syndrome occurs. Mutations and other changes in our DNA happen naturally to everyone, but in the case of Rett syndrome, a mutation in the MECP2 results in a shortage or absence of normal MECP2 protein needed to regulate or direct other genes. This means the genes needed to affect or control typical development of part of the brain responsible for sensory, emotional, motor, and autonomic function during early infancy appear to be fine, but without the proper control and regulation, the brain does not continue to develop past a certain stage. I see, I told you that was a mouthful. Our girls and boys have all the right parts going for them, but there is a protein in their brain that switches off at a certain point that doesn't allow them to progress into typical development. You can learn more about the genetics of Rett syndrome on the Reverse Rett website, and I'll make a link below. They do a really good job explaining DNA and genetics better than I can. Rett syndrome is a random disorder, so the chances of getting Rett syndrome in the first place is less than 1%, and the chances of having another child with Rett syndrome is also 1% because it's very random. Well, it's incredibly random and rare. You can't pass it down. There are exceptions to that rule. That's why it's not 100%. There is 1% of there is 1% of chance that mutations can be carried down. So we can't guarantee, but the chances are likely that you'll be fine. Rett syndrome also affects boys as well as girls, so I know there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I want to make it clear boys suffer from Rett syndrome as well. Some characteristics of Rett syndrome include breathing issues like breath holding, air swallowing, hyperventilation, epilepsy, sleep issues, teeth grinding, heart issues, scoliosis, gastrointestinal issues, loss of speech or no speech at all, lack of motor skills or no motor skills at all as well, hand wringing, hand clasping and mouthing, issues with circulation. There's so many there, but those are the main ones that I could write down. They're all kind of tied into the term apraxia. Now apraxia is, if I can again explain it in a very simple way, apraxia is like an issue with the communication between brain and the body. So for example, if you can imagine your body being a circuit board, your brain has a message and it's trying to send it out to your hands, for example, so you can reach out and grab something. But along the way from your brain to your hand, the circuit to move that hand is broken, so you're unable to do it. You're all here, as much as you want to think about doing it, you can't, and that's apraxia. When was Jovie diagnosed? I had to go back through my old blog to get these details. I'm so glad I wrote them down and took pictures, because it's been 6 years since Jovie's diagnosis. She was diagnosed in about June of 2012 through the Children's Hospital at Westmead, where we still go. When Jovie was about 10 months old, which was about March 2010, we sort of expected her to be at a certain milestone. You know, when you're watching your babies and you're like, oh, that milestone's coming up, I can't wait till she starts clapping her hands and pointing at things and making animal sounds. But she really wasn't doing that, and we thought, okay, we're just rushing her and kind of let her, you know, develop on her own schedule. It was about around 18 months when I was taking her for her vaccinations, and I mentioned to the doctor that, you know, she still wasn't doing all these things. She hadn't said her first word, she wasn't pointing to things, she wouldn't clap. So through our GP, we were referred on to our developmental pediatrician, and we were lucky to see them pretty quickly, and he agreed there was something not quite on schedule with Jovie, and we moved on to doing other testing, so like an MRI, an EEG, and then we were referred on to the Child Developmental Unit at Children's Hospital Westmead, and did some testing there too. The most important testing was the DNA testing that eventually came back positive for Rett syndrome. How does Jovie communicate? For the longest time, we've just relied on Jovie's cues and her routine to figure out what she wants, and we know what she wants most of the time. We know when she's hungry or when she needs to be changed, if something's not right. So you kind of get to know that those non-verbal communication skills. In the last few years, we've really tried to do more. So we have an eye gaze computer, which has been really good, but hard for Jovie to sit still and concentrate on a computer screen when you need to be a certain distance away. So that's a learning curve. So another way that Jovie can communicate with us is through her pod book, and of course I customized it. It's purple with her name on it, so we know it's hers. She takes this to school and to anywhere that we go. So just briefly, it looks like that, and you go along and you select what she wants to say from there. Yeah, we're trying a few different things. A lot of kids and adults with Rett syndrome will use low-tech devices like the pod or flashcards, all the way up to high-tech devices like an eye gaze computer. And you just got to find what works for you. What are Jovie's biggest challenges? In the last couple of years, Jovie's had a real problem with her epilepsy. Right now it's all good. We're having a really good year. But for example, in 2016, she had 336 seizures. But last year, 2017, she had over 660 seizures. Last year and the year before was really quite stressful for our family, but especially Jovie, because she was in and out of hospital, in and out of school. She missed out on a lot of things, and our family also missed out on a lot of things. So that was pretty challenging, the epilepsy, the uncontrolled epilepsy. And so far this year in 2018, it's August, she's probably only had 20 seizures, and that was at the start of the year. So we're so grateful for her neuro team at the kids hospital for helping us through that terrible couple of years. She's on 3 different medications at the moment to control her seizures, and we're grateful that we found the combo that works. This year, her biggest challenges have been her sleep. She doesn't sleep very well at the moment. She's taking a nap, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. She might wake up a couple times during the night and nap a few times during the day. So she's not getting a solid full 8 hours sleep. And you can see it in her face. She's tired a lot of the time. That affects her attention span at school, and it's not great to be sleeping the day away. She also falls a lot, and then we're not sure whether that's due to her epilepsy or whether it's a Rett syndrome thing, but she has a lot of falls at home, a lot of head injuries, a lot of black eyes, so that's not great, but she always bounces back, and she's doing good at the moment. At the moment, Jovie's also having troubles with her breath holding. It seems to be more frequent and longer. So for example, she'll take a breath in and hold it, and it can be anywhere from 5 seconds to past 20 seconds. She releases it, has a break for about 5 more seconds, 20 more seconds, and then holds again. Most of the time it doesn't bother her, most of the time because she's stable enough. She's okay, she's sitting, but sometimes, like yesterday, she holds it a little bit too long, or her body is frozen in such a way that she will fall straight down. So that's an issue. Jovi also has this thing that we're calling happy feet, because she's quite happy when she does it. She's constantly moving those little legs, and she's been doing that for over a year, but I think this year has been, or the last 6 months, it's quite predominant, and she's constantly moving, whether she's sitting in her conveyed stroller, which is a mobility stroller, or whether she's sitting on the couch. Those legs can kick like a soccer star, basically. There's been a few times where she's gotten me in the face, more than a few times, probably every day. She doesn't have any control over it, so maybe it's a Rett syndrome thing, or it could be one of her seizure medications that's causing hyperactivity, but that is something that we've noticed. Her body never stops, which is probably why she doesn't put on any weight. What is the toughest part of Rett syndrome? Well, it's kind of like more like what isn't tough. Jovie's the one that goes through it, and we're just here to support her. It does take a toll on the whole family. You just adjust, so we kind of go with the flow. I try not to think too much into the future, because the future is kind of terrifying. If I'm honest, we try not to let Rett syndrome get in the way of too many things, especially when she's having a good period of the year where she's, not having seizures so much and she's quite healthy. We try not to let it get too much in our way. What is your hope for Jovie? I just want her to be happy, just want her to be happy and to experience her life as it is. Yeah, that's it. So there is a few questions that some lovely people have asked Jovie to answer, and I'm gonna go get Jo. Oh. Hey, favorite thing. You like Yo Gabba Gabba, don't you? Yeah, you do. There she goes. Jovi, we're gonna answer some questions that people have for you. You ready? Okay, we're gonna use your book. I'm gonna go. I've got more to say. I'm gonna ask you a question. But we're gonna get categories, because the question is about days and times. The question is, if I can flip. Okay. Do you like it when it's morning time, afternoon time, or night time? When's your favorite time of day? Morning, afternoon, or night time? It's okay. We can hold our breath. Just for morning, afternoon, or night time? When do you think? I think your favorite part is the morning time. Ah! Oh no. Oh no. Okay. The morning time? Yeah, it's the morning time. Okay, cool. Next question. I've got more to say. I'm gonna ask you a question. My question is an opinion about school. About school. Now, what do you think about school? Whoops. Oh. Jovi, I think school is fantastic. Oh, what do you think about school? What do you think about school? Do you think school is exciting? You think it's exciting? I think it's exciting. Do you think school is special? No? You think it's exciting? Okay, it's exciting. Oh. So that's the end of our Rett Syndrome Awareness video for 2018. It was a little bit longer than I had planned, but I wanted to put in as much information as I can about Rett Syndrome and about Jovie. This video was really about Jovie's experience and our experience with Rett Syndrome. There's so much I've missed, and maybe there'll be another video, who knows? But if you had any questions, please leave a comment below or send me a question through my Instagram or our Facebook page. Bye.